Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Undoubtedly one of Cartoon Network's most popular and beloved shows of all time. And let's not forget, it was certainly one of the most memorable, but why? Could it be its unique animation style?
I mean, the lines are all wiggly!
Or maybe it's the show's unique sound design. Or maybe it's the show's over-the-top slapstick humor.
Just once, I'd like something to go right. Ow! Hello!
Surely it's all of these things, and I could go on about it, but one thing we could never forget about this show was the scams. Although it wasn't the focal point of each episode, the idea of scams was the core part of this show's identity, and was one of the key elements that made it so popular. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Comic Knight Zero, and today I'll be going over a list of the top 10 scams of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Now, before we get into it, I'd like to go over the criteria I used when compiling this list. Overall, there was 3 things I was looking for. Number 1. How unique or interesting is the scam? Is a scam just a simple lemonade stand, or is it something that required a bit more thought to it? Number 2. Is the scam profitable? Is this an idea that the Eds could have made a good amount of money on if others were genuinely interested? And number 3. Would the scam have worked had it gone unhindered? For example, if the Eds offered a bike riding service but Ed accidentally destroyed all the bikes, would customers be interested in the bike service had Ed not ruined it? And I'll be putting this as a little asterisk here, but I'll also be giving bonus points for scams that the other kids actually liked. As you might be aware, the Eds have come up with dozens upon dozens of scams throughout the show's run, and understandably, it would have taken a significant amount of time to watch every single episode just to note every single instance of a scam. So, for a list of all the scams, I referred to the list of scams found on the Ed, Edd, and Eddy fandom page, which turned out to be a pretty comprehensive list. Now, I'd like to clarify a few things. First, any scam on this list is something I consider to be fair game. So if there's a listed scam simply saying Ed ties a shoe, then I'm going to treat it as a scam because it appeared on the list. Second, my top 10 list is not limited to scams strictly done by the Eds and may include scams from other characters, such as Sarah, for example. Lastly, this video of course will be super subjective, but it still felt like a fun idea to do anyway, and at the end of the day, it's totally okay if you agree or disagree with my list. I just hope you enjoy watching this video as much as I did making it. And so, without further ado, let's get into it.
I hate mowing the lawn!
But you love Jawbreakers!
Yes, I do. Oh.
For number 10, we have Ed's lawn mowing service. In this scam, the Eds spread manure on everyone's lawns, wait for it to grow, and then charge people to have them mow it. The initial hurdle they face with the scam is that the grass actually grew too tall for them to cut with a push mower, so they get permission to borrow Rolf's goat Victor and use him to cut the grass. But after a while, they lose control of Victor and the scam eventually falls apart really fast. By the time we've reached the end of the scam, the Eds are never mentioned or seen getting paid, so the assumption here is that they didn't actually make a profit. Though, if they were able to handle Victor, I do think the scam would have been successful. Now, the scam itself isn't anything super interesting, but if Rolf would always agree to let the Eds use Victor, then the Eds could be set on this. The kids in the cul-de-sac are stuck with mowing their lawns, which in theory, is something they'd have to do for most of the year, thus allowing for repeatable business. I'm sure the other kids would happily pay the Eds to mow their lawn, as it's a chore that they'd rather not be stuck with as any kid. So it's a scam that's actually beneficial to the customer, to some degree. After all, the assumption here is that the Eds keep spreading manure on everyone's lawn each time they want to do this, though it's kind of unclear on how much the Eds are paying for the manure if they're paying for it at all. Regardless, I think the scam had the potential to be profitable and repeatable had it worked in the Eds' favor.
Johnny, you blimphead! Move it or lose it!
Coming in at number 9, we have The Hunt for Eddosaurus. In this scam, the Ed boys tried their hand in show business, making home movies and screening for all the cul-de-sac to see, with The Hunt for Eddosaurus being their big debut. The film itself was done in the silent movie format while 88 Fingers Edward plays pedal steel guitar in the back of the room. Admittedly, the movie looked a bit boring to me, but I really did like the atmosphere of the whole setup. Regardless, the movie seemed to have everyone's full attention for a few seconds before they were dying of boredom. After a few complaints from the audience, the scam is quickly derailed and ends with a food fight before Ed kicks them out for plot-related reasons. The profit on this scam was at least $3 in quarters, with the Eds being able to actually keep the profit. However, I put the scam at the bottom of the list because, even if the movie screening didn't end with a food fight, the Eds clearly lack the ability to make decent movies. I mean, the movie was done to make a quick buck, so obviously there wasn't that much effort put into it. Either way, had the scam gone unhindered, I think the Eds would find themselves hard-pressed to keep repeatable business. Though I do believe Johnny and technically Plank are an exception, as Johnny was the only one to keep his full attention on the film. So it's not difficult to imagine him showing up to every movie, but I digress. In the end, I thought it was an interesting scam because, I don't know, I just kind of like the idea of the Eds going around the neighborhood making short films. It reminds me a lot of the Adult Swim cartoon home movies. But, like I said, the quality of their films is really lacking, so I don't see them getting very far with this scam.
Where are we going, Rolf?
Ask no questions! Come, Wilfred!
For number 8, we have the Money Tree Scam, which actually isn't a scam by the Eds and was instead created by Rolf. The long story short version of this is that Jimmy got scammed hard by Eddy earlier in the episode, and so Rolf helps him get payback. The scam here is they create a fake money tree out of expired coupons, and when Eddy sees it, they offer to give him a money tree seed in exchange for everything he owns. This was a great scam on the account that they actually out-scammed Eddy, the master of scams himself, for absolutely everything he owned, which definitely boosted the scam's profit margin. Though, as great as it was, the scam would most certainly be a one-time thing, which is kind of the main reason why it wasn't rated any higher on the list. Overall, great scam, but definitely hard to repeat.
Nice try!
In number 7, we have the Peach Creek Junior High Tatler Scandal, aka the Tabloid Paper Scam. The episode begins with Double D being in charge of the school paper, which costs 25 cents an issue. Naturally, he recruits Ed and Eddy to help him out. Eddy saw this as a great way to make money, but realized the paper was a bit too boring with Double D writing the headlines. Soon, Eddy finds a way to distract Double D for the day, begins writing fake and dramatic headlines about the other students, and thus, the scam begins. I found this one to be one of the more entertaining scams throughout the series due to the amount of chaos that ensued once the kids started fighting each other over fake drama, which more or less made for an interesting latter half of the episode. This scam may have perhaps been one of the most profitable scams for the Eds. However, even if the scam had zero problems, all proceeds would have gone to the school, though I'm sure Eddy would have attempted to sneak out some change every now and then. Not to mention, I think it would have been difficult to maintain that amount of cash flow without Double D finding out or intervening. In short, the profit on the scam is too many quarters to count. It's an interesting scam, but hard to maintain.
Oh, my aching! Cause I never get old! Cause I never get old!
Coming in at number 6 is Eddy's career counseling. In this scam, after realizing that everyone in the cul-de-sac is starting to grow up and will eventually need to decide on career paths in the future, the Eds create an aptitude test to help the other kids determine which career best suits them. The scam was actually pretty successful, with the Eds earning money from everyone except Kevin, and the Kankers I guess, with everyone generally being satisfied with the results. The profit for this scam was several quarters, and the Eds were even able to buy Jawbreaker shortly thereafter, which in my book means it did pretty well. And you know what? I'd even argue to say it did a little too well. Because shortly after the Eds got their jawbreakers, Naz took those things away from them because she was completely dedicated to her career as a dentist. Like many other scams on this list, this was a one-time scam. In the end, I thought the scam was cool regardless of how arbitrary and random some of the career choices were.
Bang! Johnny is a gopher! The little rascal.
Blank has turned the tables, Eddie.
What a weasel!
The little Dickens.
I want my back!
At number 5, we have Requiem for a Whiplash. In this scam, the Eds built an insane-looking roller coaster in the junkyard for Plank. Now, admittedly, the scam didn't actually result in any profit, but it was put on my top 5 purely due to how interesting the scam was and the amount of effort that really went into it. I mean, look at this coaster, dude. This thing has got to go on for at least a mile. And with all these twists, turns, and spirals, ultimate thrill seekers are almost guaranteed to have a good time on this ride. I can only imagine how much time and effort actually went into designing and building this. Though, to be honest, I'm sure a lot of the responsibility for this probably fell on Double D.
Oh, I'm tired. So tired. Without limitation, truly tired. Utterly, unequivocally tired.
Not to mention the cool ride title. It may not have been a huge hit, but I could only wish something like this existed in real life. But you know, with better safety standards.
This is it! Bubbly, bubbly, boo! This is the perfect spot for what I like to call Jimmy's Super Duper Scammy Whammy!
We have a scam from Jimmy coming in at number 4, with Jimmy's Super Duper Scammy Whammy. The story behind this scam is that in this episode, the Eds are desperate for scam ideas and offer to buy an idea from anyone willing to give one, to which Jimmy steps up to the plate to offer his own idea, but after laying out the requirements and describing the back-breaking labor behind it, Eddy rejects the idea and explains that the scam is, well, set to fail. However, after the rejection, Jimmy still pressed on with the idea, and it ended up being a pretty big success, much to Eddy's surprise. The scam earned about 6 piggy banks full of dollars and quarters. I thought the idea was cool because, I mean, honestly, I could see it as something that could be replicated in real life, though to a more realistic scale. And I loved how cartoonishly oversized these things were, similar to like the jawbreakers at their local candy store. Plus, this scam has a lot of potential for repeatable business, especially during the summertime. Either way, great scam by Jimbo.
Eddie! If my mom sees Sarah eating bugs, I'll be in big trouble!
Everybody back to normal.
For number 3, we have the Hypnosis Scam. In this scam, Eddy hypnotizes the kids into giving him money. That's it. Look, I'm gonna level with you guys. Legitimately, I did consider leaving this scam off the list because, I don't know, this one kind of felt like cheating, but it is technically considered a scam, so on the list it stays. The profit on the scam was a whole lot of quarters from the kids, and the Eds could basically get everyone to do whatever they wanted, so there's that. Really, the scam was only stopped when Lee Kanker arrived and proved that she couldn't be hypnotized due to her eyes being covered by her hair. So ultimately, had the Kankers not showed up, the Eds could theoretically write out the scam for as long as they wanted to. Granted, how long the hypnotism actually lasts and how easy it would be to re-hypnotize people. Though I think it's fair to say that this is definitely one of the more nefarious, yet potentially profitable scams throughout the series. Coming in at number 2, we have Eddy's Creek Cruise. For this scam, the Eds decide to start a cruise service down at the neighborhood creek. The cruise is set up with Ed acting as the boat's motor, Eddy acting as the captain, and my boy 88 Fingers Edward back at it again with a pedal steel guitar. Like other scams on this list, I appreciate the novelty of how this cruise is built, as this is something that could potentially be replicated in real life, you know, if you exclude certain ship parts. Plus, the cruise had a cooler full of drinks and snacks, nutritionally balanced by Double D of course. Once the cruise had set sail, everything was actually going pretty smoothly, and well, until the boat was attacked and sunk by the Kinker sisters, thus ending the scam. But you know, smooth sailing, aside from that. The profit on this scam was 50 cents. And although the Edds have made more money with other scams earlier in the list, I do think the Edds could have made more with the scam. It's just that the boat only had room for 2 passengers at a time. But at the very least, before the attack, both Jimmy and Johnny seemed to be enjoying the cruise, so I don't think it'd be hard to imagine the other kids being interested in taking the cruise as well. With that said, I do strongly believe that had this plan gone unhindered by the Kinkers, this scam would have done pretty well and would have been liked by the other kids. I think the only complaint would be that the cruise doesn't have enough passenger seats, but I don't really see anything else besides that. Plus, given how easy the setup is, the scam would easily lead to repeatable business. And I should mention, the scam has been done twice in the series, with the other version taking place in the sewer with understandably little to no interest from the others.
You're in a sewer, idiot! It's dirty and stinky!
It's called ambience! It's a swamp ride, get it? What do you girls know about?
What do you think you're... Look out!
Quack, quack! Ed, you're gonna hurt somebody! This ain't a cartoon!
Coming in at number 1, we have Edtropolis. The general premise for the scam is the Edds build an entire city out of cardboard. Now, even though it's only the 3 of them running this scam, they actually do a really good job of trying to emulate the immersion of being in a big city. They filled the road with dozens upon dozens of cardboard citizens, they set up traffic light systems and acted like car drivers, and they even had a variety of little shops and services set up which essentially worked as mini scams. This was ultimately a scam city filled with scams. Plus, with the exception of Johnny, all the other kids were really enjoying this scam. I'd say the scam only really ended because Johnny didn't like how the city was affecting Plank, and ultimately took all the money that the Edds earned, gave it all back to the kids, and, you know, accidentally caused the city to collapse, but we don't talk about that. The profit on this scam was 1 bottle cap, a jar of quarters, and a worm. I think had Johnny not intervened, the scam would have remained popular with the kids visiting quite frequently. Especially if the Edds continued to offer different services to the kids. This would both give the kids a reason to come back due to the variety of shops that the Edds could set up, and could serve as the hosting place for the Edds to try out different small-time scams. The amount of effort the Edds put into the city was just phenomenal. They've really outdone themselves with this one, and I'd say aside from Requiem for a Whiplash, I don't think many scams come close to this one in terms of scale. And that, my friends, is why I think Edtropolis is the best scam of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Don't at me. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It honestly took me a while to decide on which scams I was going to add to this list. Needless to say, it was definitely more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Anyways, like I said earlier, it's totally fine if you agree or disagree with my scam choices, and if anything, I would love to hear which scams you guys would add to your own top 10 list. A link to the Scams wiki can be found in the description. Well peeps, I think that'll be all for today. Are there any scams you thought would have made the list? Would you like to see more top 10 videos? Did you count how many times I said the word scam? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like so I know that you're enjoying the content. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to smash that subscribe button, just make sure you get consent before you do. I hope you all are doing well, and with that, I shall see you all next time.